Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 25 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice, we love all the petty drama. But before we get into our stories for today, our usual housekeeping, whether you are new or returning, please remember to always engage with the content to help the channel grow. Whether you are enjoying on audio or video, please remember to like, share, subscribe, rate, review, comment with your thoughts on the stories, all the things. Every little bit of engagement helps. All right, into our petty drama for today. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Neighbors are extended family and think they own the apartment building. This one is labeled, "What would you do?" vent/rant. They all have their parties on weeknights and weekends and open the doors to all their apartments and let their kids scream in the stairs and pound the walls until 3 a.m. and blast Bollywood music. It's all hours all the time. How can I get them to close their doors and stay out of the stairs without turning the whole building against me? Making the stairs smell terrible is not a solution because they already beat me to that. I just need something that irks them enough to keep their doors shut without starting a neighborhood war. I should mention that I have talked to them politely multiple times, and I'm at the breaking point where I'm ready to escalate to not being nice anymore. My working ideas are blowing an air horn in the stairway when they're annoying and loitering in the hall, farting loudly. There's a comment I could see without even scrolling. It says, at 3 a.m., call the cops. You are already in the middle of a neighborhood war and losing. And I completely agree with that. Sorry, I'm sick right now and my voice is not cooperating with me fully. We are making do. But yes, I too say that's outrageous behavior for 3 o'clock in the morning. Call the police. The police aren't going to tell them who called and made a complaint. They'll have their guesses, they can make their assumptions, but they can't do anything about it. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. You mow down my plants? Had an adjoining neighbor who was used to mowing the part of my lawn between my driveway and his house. The previous owner, my former landlord, didn't mind, but I did. I saw him outside and went over to show him that my lawn extended to within 3 feet of the side of his house on the city planning map. He said he had always cut the grass and thought it was his. I thought we understood each other, so I put some perennials in various spots including that area, including some small lilac runners. They can spread underground by rhizome. From my sister's lawn, and some black-eyed Susan and echinacea. They were not in bloom yet. He mowed some of them down along with my grass. I confronted him, and he still played dumb about the boundary. Homeowners know it's important not to let someone else establish a right-of-way on your property. That night, I took some shears and cut the stems of the lovely purple allium flowers they had planted in front of their porch, right in the middle so it would be obvious. I watched from inside my kitchen as he stepped out with a cup of coffee the next morning. I saw him notice his flowers lying cut on the ground. He never said anything and never cut my lawn again. I did find an iron rebar marker buried vertically just a couple of inches under the grass from an old survey and showed it to him. A couple of years later, I had a professional survey done because I was putting up a fence on the property boundary where the neighbors were in the habit of using my driveway as a shortcut to the street, sometimes even driving over my lawn to the street. It not only showed I was right about the boundary on one side, but that I actually had more land than I thought on the other neighbor's side. Fence now in place there. When people don't listen, you just have to do what you have to do. And I mean, all you did was cut a couple of flowers. They'll grow back next year. You did what you had to do, and it got the message across. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/petty revenge, Red Robin Line Cutter. I just stumbled across this sub and figured I'd share my petty encounter from a couple years back. My family and I were waiting towards the front of the line to check in at Red Robin while they were opening, and there was a queue of about 30 guests or so. Pretty busy, but it could have been worse. As soon as a host appeared to start checking people in, this older lady just walked straight through the line and right past everyone waiting. When she tried to check in, I interrupted and told the host this lady just cut in front of the entire patiently waiting line, and then asked her how she got in front of us when we'd been waiting in line for 15 minutes. She tried to play dumb like she had no idea what she just did, but I could tell she was pissed as she had everyone's attention by then. So I insisted my family at least be seated first, and then they can do whatever with the line cutter. I think she thought nobody would call her out because she was an older female, but as patient as I try to be sometimes, I don't tolerate people trying to cut in. As we were waiting for our food, the lady was seated at the table next to us, and when she looked up, I was glaring across the table directly at her as we were now facing each other. I just sat there staring at her without saying a word as she was becoming visibly uncomfortable. As I was staring, she got on her phone to find out where the rest of her party was, and it turned out she was an hour early because of the time change that morning. I heard it all and just smirked at her until she asked to be moved to another table. I'm sure she gets away with this shit a lot, but at least not this time. It's different if, things are really vague and you can't quite tell where the line is. Sometimes I run into that situation, I'm not quite sure, and, I'll just ask the person that I think is in line ahead of me, hey, are you in line? Yes? Okay, I'm behind you then. No? Okay, then I can go around you. There's basic common courtesies. And, everyone else is waiting. No one's more important than anybody else. You just wait your turn. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Double cheeseburger revenge. When I used to work at McDonald's, I had this really awful shift leader. We'll call her Linda, not her real name. Linda made everyone's life there a living hell, constantly yelling and screaming, micromanaging everything we did, finding the smallest mistakes and calling you out for it. No matter what you did around her, she'd find a way to yell at you about it. One day, she was talking to my work bestie when I heard her repeat what work bestie said, but in a mocking tone. I had had enough. I was working with Linda in the kitchen, and I noticed she had accidentally made one extra double cheese without pickles. She put a sticker on it to mark it had an alteration, but the sticker was just a general one and didn't say what was different about it. I know Linda had made it for her upcoming break, but tried to play it off like it was an accident. We were allowed to make our breakfast food ahead of time. Once the double cheese had sat there for a few minutes, I look at work bestie with a smile and say, this has been here for a while. I don't even know what the sticker is there for. You think we should toss it? Work bestie nodded in agreement, and I threw it away. A few minutes later, Linda is screaming in the kitchen, "Who threw away the double cheeseburger?" I immediately told her it was me, and it had been sitting there for too long, and I had no idea why the sticker was there anyways. She stared me down, angry, but no right to punish me because I had technically done everything exactly according to policy. Reluctantly, she let me go and returned to the kitchen to make another double cheese for her break. Still satisfying to think back on this to this day. Ha ha ha. As long as you're following the policy, she had to remake it anyway. It wasn't going to kill her to just wait until it was time for her break to make it. If it was for you, why would you want to make it ahead of time and have it sitting there anyway? Or, if you guys are allowed to make some food for yourselves, why wouldn't you just, put your name or something on it? Why'd you just put a random sticker that didn't explain the purpose? All right, story number 5 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Parked like an entitled jerk, so I ruined his yoga session. Ooh, love me a good parking story. My city has charge ports for electric cars in public lots. I can't install a charger for my car at my apartment building, so I rely on these public chargers for a hybrid car. When the program started, the parking spots had signs that read electric vehicles only, because if a gas-powered car takes a spot, the charger can't be used, as the cords don't go any further. Most cars blocking the spots could be reported to the police for towing, but certain entitled drivers of electric cars decide that these are their own personal parking spots. They wouldn't actually plug in to charge. They didn't need the free electricity. They just think their car being electric is giving them the equivalent of a handicap placard for a nicer spot. There is no towing them since they obeyed the sign. Their car is electric, and it's always a Tesla. One morning, I was driving up to a set of the charging ports because my app said one was free. While waiting at a nearby red light, I could see the spot was just taken and the driver was walking away. He wasn't charging his Tesla, and I wouldn't be able to charge. I had no actual recourse to get the guy a ticket or towed like I could with a gas-powered car, so I waited about 20 minutes. Then I called the yoga studio he had walked into, right around the point when I figured his session had safely been going for a little while. I said to the woman picking up, "A person in your class drives a black Tesla, plates, blah blah blah. There's a tow truck about to hitch up the car for blocking a charging spot. You should really let them know immediately." She was immensely grateful, like I'd just done this jerk a huge favor. Shortly after, he came barreling out of the studio and around the corner to save his car. It was obviously fine. I took pride knowing I'd not only thrown off his yoga session, but that he was also responsible for interrupting the class for everyone else, and that they would all silently judge him. I mean, who wants the license plate of a bad driver read out during yoga? Sometimes when I need to pick me up, I like thinking about how he went back to do yoga, fuming that someone was screwing with him. Since then, the city realized these drivers ruin things for everyone and replaced all the signs to say, "Electric vehicles only while charging." It's not the same joy as ruining yoga, but now I can just call the cops and get them ticketed for my petty revenge, which I do every single time. Entitled brats. Yes, I love it. I really love that they eventually picked up on what was going on, the city did, and changed the signs and made it easier to get them in trouble through legal means than having to resort to petty revenge. But I do think that's really funny to think about them just like over the intercom or something, just fully interrupting what is supposed to be such a calm, zen space for yoga with like, "Hey, your car's about to get towed." Yeah. Okay, story number 6 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Money plus power equals Karen. I just started a new job, concierge/security for a high-rise condominium downtown. The HOA president is an older woman who makes it hard to keep a straight face. She will wait until tenants leave the lobby to talk trash about them, only to smile sweetly when they come back inside. She talks trash about my manager in front of me, tenants, friends, it doesn't matter. So I have a feeling what she says about me when I'm not around. She talks nonstop about her divorce years and years ago, in which she caught her husband and best friend sleeping together and how she won because she got all his money in the end. Her dog is a nightmare. It tries to attack other dogs in the lobby, and she will tell the other tenants to control their animal. Well, she had me fired after only 6 shifts because of a computer glitch. Starting on September 1st, 24 HD cameras were set up recording high-definition video 24 hours a day, which means that the computer that these cameras are connected to is getting dumped with 24 hours worth of video data times 24 times a day. Personally, I think the computer is beginning to crash because it's not turned off, updated, or given any kind of break now that the building runs 24-hour security. Staff are required to lock the computer screen whenever we leave the terminal in the lobby, and so when I return from a patrol a couple nights ago and log back into the computer, all of the Google Chrome tabs that were up had crashed, and the HOA president had a 2-factor verification process set up for every app on this computer, which means she knows immediately when something's gone wrong. After helping me get signed back on, she told me, "Now, I'm not saying this is your fault, but the next time you log in, you need to use this particular function so that this doesn't happen again." Several hours later, when I locked the computer screen to do another patrol, the same thing happened. 6 hours later, I received a call from my HR representative letting me know that I would not be returning to my job. For the last 3 days, I've been using this person's online business to sign them up for every free catalog request I can possibly find. At this point, she has about 60 free catalogs on their way, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. For every action, there is an equal but opposite reaction. You want to ruin somebody's life? You might want to think about what that might look like for you before you just take your thumb off the nuclear detonator remote. I mean, really, one single day is all it took for her to be like, you're done. Like, did not ask any questions, did not take into consideration the limitations of technology. She was just like, I'm not dealing with this in the middle of the night. We'll find somebody more competent. But you won't, because it's the computer's fault. Yeah, I don't at all like the way that was handled. And really, honestly, I wish you could have found something worse to do than just signing her up for free catalogs. Because, I mean, catalogs coming in the mail, that's not that bad. You check the mail, they're in there, you just toss them. But emails or phone calls, those are more annoying, and those can be harder to stop. Story number 7 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Crowded Paris airport seating. A few years back, my sister and I were traveling through Paris to Rome with my 7 and 4-year-old nephews for a trip to Italy. When we landed in Paris, there was a very long walk from the landing gate and customs to our gate. When we finally got to our gate area, it was very crowded. My 7-year-old nephew at the time needed to sit. He has blade prosthetics, and they were getting tight and needed replacing soon. Plus, the air travel makes his legs swell a bit. Anyway, we get to the gate and he needs to sit, and we're trying to contain the wild 4-year-old too. I approach a woman seated between 2 empty seats and ask her politely if she could please move one seat over so the boys could sit together, pointing at my nephew's legs, telling her he needs to sit. She absolutely refused, and I think she thought we would look elsewhere for seats together. But I turn to my sister, and sis proceeds to sit with one of the boys on each side of her. The boys were really excited and bouncing all over the place. I ran to the restroom, and by the time I got back, my sister was seated between the boys. I think it took only about 1 minute for the woman to realize her mistake of sitting between 2 excited little boys. My sister said she left pretty quickly. I saw the woman again as we boarded the plane, and she wouldn't make any eye contact with me. I mean, that's so silly. It's not like they were asking you to give up your seat entirely. They just asked you to move one seat over. You were still going to get to sit. And if you actually look at the situation in front of you, you should have known what was going to happen. Like, you're either moving one seat over so these boys can sit together, or you're stuck between 2 young brothers, which really sounds like a horrible place to be stuck. So ultimately, like, she ended up moving and leaving somewhere else and possibly not even having a seat by her own choice. So I don't feel bad for her. All right, story number 8 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Don't want me walking on your lawn? Don't leave your garbage can blocking the sidewalk. Here's something small and petty I do on my daily walk around the neighborhood. You're supposed to put your trash by the curb once a week on garbage pickup day. Since everyone in my neighborhood uses different trash collection companies, every day of the work week, there are multiple garbage toters by the curb. I had a recent injury to my knee that required walking with a cane. No company specifies that garbage toters can't be in the middle of the sidewalk. It was annoying and really an inconvenience to step into the street to go around them when I was using a cane. I started walking around them by stepping on people's lawns. Not destroying landscape, but walking a step or 2 on their property. People in my neighborhood get very upset when children or anyone else walks on their grass. No one's ever challenged me, but I still feel an ounce of satisfaction by doing this when the sidewalk is completely blocked. I mean, fair's fair. Like, if you're going to block the right-of-way, if you're going to block the sidewalk, you have to expect that people still need to use that space. People are still going to find a way around it. And your lawn is probably the easiest space to get around it. Because going down to the street, there's probably a curb you have to step down, then step back up, versus from the sidewalk to somebody's lawn is probably pretty well level. It is the easier option. It makes sense. And also, that is just so dumb to me, to leave your trash can in the middle of the sidewalk. What are you doing? Generally, for the most part, when there are sidewalks, there's like lawn, sidewalk, little strip of grass, curb, street. And you would generally put your trash can on the strip of grass between the sidewalk and the curb so it's easier for the trash people to get to. I don't know why you would think putting it in the sidewalk was a good option. All right, story, I can't remember if that was 7 or 8. I think the next one's 8. Oh, no, next one is story number 9. Story number 9 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Vroom vroom jerks. This took place in 2017, but the memory makes me laugh. I had terrible neighbors across the street who liked to sit outside and rev their loud cars and street race on main roads late into the night. It was obnoxious and kept my household awake. My aunt had a huge Ford F-150, and you know what beasts they are. I messaged her about the dickheads who would not stop, and she said she would stop it. 2 weeks later, she did a muffler and resonator delete and drove into my neighborhood with her engine roaring like a fully grown bass in a chorus of tenors whose voices were still changing. She stopped across their driveway and revved her engine for a solid 15 minutes. The jerks could not have a conversation or sit in their living room because of the noise. Let me tell you, my aunt was a 5'11" butch lady who wore flannel shirts with the sleeves ripped off, jeans, and cowboy boots. She wore her hair buzzed and had tattooed sleeves of roses, barbed wire, and bulldogs on both arms. All she had to do was stand up out of her truck when the puffed-up jerk faces came outside, and they deflated at the sight of her. Ha ha ha. My aunt waved at me through the window and drove off, engine roaring. The jerks never revved their cars again in that neighborhood. They moved away in 2020 right before COVID hit, so they may very well be terrorizing someone else with their noisy cars. My aunt passed this morning from cancer, so I share this in memory of her. Rest in peace, Auntie Tay. So sorry for your loss. But Aunt Tay was a badass. I love that. She's like, no questions asked. Come show out with the truck. Show them that they do not have the noisiest vehicles around. And like just the one time they understood. I love it. All right, that is 9 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. That is us done for the day. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. So sorry for my voice. I hope it is better next time. We shall see. Thanks again so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.